have always been given to them.
All right, sir. Mr. Wafai, just going back to this multinational joint task force, do you think, looking at it, do you think it goes alongside the dictates of combating terrorism, war, whereby they said, oh, because nobody really, for the first time, I just heard that there was a multinational joint task force, and it's like, oh, it's not only us, so it's, the way people see it, like, oh, the Chadians were there, so is that normal? Number one, is it called for?
Yes, I believe so.
All right.
Remember in the Iraqi-US war,
Yes.
there was an allied military force
Yes.
comprising the United States,
All right.
UK, France. Same thing was the case in Libya.
Okay.
Just recently in Central African Republic,
All right.
it was the same thing led by France, which Nigeria was equally one of the nations that participated.
Okay.
Now, there is a trend towards the cooperation, international cooperation among states towards combating the scourge of terrorism.
All right.
Now, terrorism, like I said, terrorism is not just a national offense. It has assumed the nature of an international crime, so that there is something we international lawyers simply call there's universal jurisdiction for the trial of the punishment of international crimes. There is the UN counter-terrorism strategy, which was, I think it was sometime in 2006. There was an adoption by the General Assembly, enjoining all states to take very positive, sincere, and concerted efforts in battling terrorism. Now, but in doing so, states were enjoined to, in their battle or suppression of terrorist actions, to refrain from or to respect human rights for all the rule of law as the fundamental basis for the fight against terrorism.
Okay.
Now, so that if any state, for whatever purpose, albeit it wants to combat the scourge of terrorism, you cannot place before the respect for human rights the protection of that right. I mean, what's the purpose and to what end will the suppression of terrorism be if it's not for the protection of human rights? If you kill without it, so you were supposed to protect.
All right.
I think the end cannot be said to be justified or achieved, because the first thing is it's to protect human rights. I think another issue is the fact that the joint task force is called for, reason being that Baga, Borno State, is a border town to Chad and Niger. Yeah. And so there is no way that Niger cannot come into the foray. Okay. There is no way that Chad cannot come in, because their national security as well is threatened. One of the reasons Nigeria actually participated in the war in Mali was because there was a threat to Nigeria. We would not have gone into that war if we felt that, hey, it's not our business. But it's the business because it's international, it's an international crime. Terrorism is a war against people all over the world. It's not a war against a country, it's not a war against a specific set of people, but it's a war against people all over the world. And nations across the world have an international obligation, not a right. They have an international duty to suppress terrorism wherever it arises. That's why states have jurisdiction to try anybody for any crime committed anywhere in the world. Don't forget, Mr. Henry Oka was tried in South Africa. Yeah. It was an international offense. Okay. So I think it's called for.
Oh, okay. So, Mr. Chukwumaha, okay, as a security consultant, looking at your experience, do you think there was any way the MJTF, as it were, or the JTF could have carried out this operation, without this much number of casualties? Because as it is now, it's almost been termed as genocide. Some people say it's similar to ethnic cleansing. It's like you just went and cleansed the whole town.
Well, I laugh because the statistics in terms of information, no one really knows the true figure, right? We don't have reporters who were there who've given us live coverage of what went on. But don't forget, in little pockets of hamlets around that area within the state, Borno State, including Adamawa State, there have been attacks on members of the JTF. Of recent, within the last 3 days, the JTF have lost some persons, and the figure is being suppressed, so it doesn't get to public knowledge. That's one thing we must know. And the average soldier at that level becomes, I don't know which one, I'll use the word paranoid. He's scared. He doesn't want to die. So he becomes trigger happy. Anything that looks like the enemy, he's ready to shoot. Because like I said earlier, it's either me or you. That's one. Then, like my colleague mentioned, the issue of the dimension, the international dimension. Now, these insurgents have been said to have come from both Niger and from the Chadian Republic. Now, we do not really know their true identity, because up there in the north, they almost all look alike. They're no border posts, you just walk across, and that's it. So these countries are now also trying to protect their own territory. And the only way they can do it is to assist us, not nip it on the board, curb it, to ensure there is no influx back or reprisal going back or flow back into their own country. That's why they're participating. Not because they love Nigeria, no. Not because they've signed the treaty of that. No, it's to make sure they protect their own sovereignty of their own country. That's one aspect of it. But the issue of the JTF going around, you put the word genocide. I won't want to use the word genocide. I want to still stand until I'm proven wrong. That the persons they killed were killed randomly, just for the fun of killing. Like he has mentioned that the Senate President has set up an inquiry to look into the killings. One, to know if they were all innocent persons that were killed, and two, if the soldiers, the JTF, the Joint Task Force person, or the MJT, that's a multi-joint task force, just went around at random. Because if that is the case, then they'll all be held to ransom. Like he has said also, and I want to also reiterate, they will all stand to be accounted for their actions. There is a court, an international court, that will try these persons if it can be proven it was a genocide. But if not, I would say they have to keep on doing what they have to do to ensure we still remain a state, an indivisible state, to ensure we nip this insurgency from spreading.
Okay, I'll still get back to that. Them doing what they have to do. Okay, personally, whose report do you go with? You go with what the indigent governments or government agency or reps go say, or what's maybe help or the rescue of operators like the Red Cross? Just personally, which one have you believed over time?
The Red Cross is a human
believed over time.
More interested in ensuring human lives are lost, irrespective of what angle of side they come from, whether from the JTF or from the so-called Simba populace, or even the so-called Boko Haram. The JTF is here to respect life. Now, unfortunately, we don't have the Red Cross. Now, unfortunately, we do not have international correspondents to whom I'll say will not take the element of bias. If you were there, you would top radio, I would say maybe there's some element of bias. If it's NT, definitely I'm not going to believe your story. And of course, if it was coming from the JTF, we know it definitely lopsided, one side. So the question is that if there was an international presence in terms of news coverage, I would tend to believe that than any other side. But we just want to believe the fear of God in both parties is still considered. But let me ask this question, and this is a question every Nigerian must answer. Why should Boko Haram result in taking human lives to push their points?
Okay, we'll get back to that. But also, you know, from many quarters they said this recent attack was like aggravated, was like a reprisal. Now, reprisal from the part of the JTF because they lost a soldier of recent. How do you see this story?
Well, when you say that, don't forget, soldiers are human beings. They feel angry. When you kill one man, brother, whom you have lived together, coming together in partnership for a common cause to protect the land, it's like that everywhere. You will feel bad if you lost a fellow colleague of yours. Yeah, definitely your news coverage of your book is different. Something inside you will feel anger, for you to go out. It's the same thing. So they went out. If it was an private fight, they did go outside the rules of engagement. What are more interested? Whether it's a reprisal, not a reprisal, they did go outside the rules of engagement.
Okay, and if they're going to be acting human, now let's look at the professional angle to it. I'm angry because as a soldier, my colleague has been put down with a man down. But soldiers, I believe there is something, there's a kind of partnership signed with the government. Not that I'm saying, lives must be lost, but these are people that have been groomed for battle. They have been groomed for the unexpected. So would you say it was professional? Do you think it is professional to go back in as it were, like in a reprisal kind of motive, or in anger?
Now, there are two ways to look at it. The commanding officer there at the camp, the JTF camp, know the men went back. Yes or no? That is one. Two, if he did not know and the pocket of the boys went back to reprisal, which is the most common everywhere in the world, but they needed backup. Their mates there in the camp got to know they were out there and they were either trapped, so they went there to assist them. And in the course of assisting them, more lives were lost. At that point in time, the commanding officer gets to them. That's not the point in time he begins to correct them. He has to ensure that they can show and of course be able to quell what is going on. And so when they come back, that they kill them or debrief them and ask for a complete change of those who went down there to ensure it doesn't happen. Now the military is also looking to what they have. The Senate too, representing the nation too, is looking to what's happening. The presidency too has come into it. But mine is I still look at it from a different angle. They were sent for a purpose. They left their home, the comfort of their home, to go to a camp, to go down to protect the nation. In the course of being there, they must be 24 hours battle ready for any form of information coming, either through reconnaissance, either for double-sided snitches, as they were called, people who report information to both sides of the camp, and they will have this information. And when information comes, you don't have the opportunity of testing that information to know whether that information is true, sincere, or is bogus. Act on it immediately. Don't forget, life is precious.
Okay, and would you say this is like a repeat of OT, way back 1990 or something? Because we didn't hear anything about it.
I was going to come in. Okay. The question is whether or not there was a reprisal. I don't think it should come at all. If the expert could agree with it. Now, these soldiers had a duty. A duty and a mission to suppress an insurgent incursion. Now, whether or not they lost the colleague, it shouldn't even come into the picture. Now, since they had a duty to suppress this incursion, they had lost one, they had actually retreated, but then they came back because it was their duty. Remember, a soldier is not supposed to run away from battle. So they had gone back. But the question I would simply raise is, my concern bothers more with the killing of innocent citizens. Because now, in the course of the exercise of your duty or mission, as it were, you must be seen to have exercised that duty reasonably.
Okay.
Could it have been said to be negligence or recklessness on the part of the JTF or the multitask force if there was somebody needs to dance to the music, someone needs to sing to the music? I believe that the military has a military tribunal, so to speak, there's a court martial, and I believe that those soldiers who, like I said, I wouldn't want to go into the merits of the case because I believe that there still is an investigation ongoing. So I cannot tell whether military men were reckless, but I said if there was recklessness, if there was negligence, then those lives cannot be justified. But if, as it were, those guys attacked them, they did not know who it was or where the shots were coming from, and they shot back, and people fell in between. Remember, I like to be very, very much historical. I like to relate events to history. I cannot relate this to Hodi because Hodi was not Hodi was more or less a reprisal.
It was, because I think a couple of
yes, so I really, there's some bit of distinguishing here. Now, but I would rather refer you to the case, to the matter between Israel and the Palestinians, Hezbollah for that matter. The Hezbollah terrorists at the time used the civilian population in Jordan as a human shield. But if Israel attacked them, those civilians supported the terrorists. They did not attack. What they simply did was to pop flyers from the air, from airplanes and helicopters, saying that these people within that area should leave that area so that they could get those terrorists. Those people did not budge, but there was no attack. Now, so the word is restrained. Whether or not those people were seen to be shielding, we do have a counter-terrorist act which was passed last year. It was passed in 2011, but it came into force in June, sometime in June 2012. Now, that was even amended this year to make terrorism a crime punishable by the death penalty.